Hi everybody, welcome to Simply Scuba. Here I've got the Cressi Console PD2 Double Gauge. So this is a very simple, nice and compact little double gauge with your pressure and your depth. Let's take a closer look. Okay, so this is how it arrives. It's in a plastic bag with a sort of a cardboard header to it. On the inside, you have your gauges and a little instruction manual, bunch of different languages, basically how to use it. So have a quick look through that. The gauges themselves, nice and compact for a double gauge. They're in a pretty tough sort of plastic mount. The mount itself, so this has two small loops, so you could thread something through there. They're pretty snug though. You'd probably struggle to fit sort of anything too thick through there. But if they are a little bit tough, if you just use some sort of hot water just to sort of dip it in, that can help to sort of soften these kind of plastics and make it a bit more pliable. The gauges themselves, nice, neat little, pretty clear gauges, bright white back to it. These actually glow in the dark, so if you shine a torch on it during a night dive, it'll glow back that kind of green colour. The top gauge, so this is your depth gauge. It's got a bit of a hood at the top. So if you're diving in sort of really sunny conditions, it can sort of help protect that and shield that from any glare. Now this is a non-linear gauge, which means that the increments, the single 1 meter markings on this, they're spaced apart when they're very shallow, but they're pretty close together the deeper you get. So this is pretty useful for your final safety stop. The shallower you are, you want it to be more accurate, so it's a lot easier to tell when you go from 5 to 4 meters or from 5 to 6 meters than from 28 to 29 meters. 3 and 6 are highlighted, so when you're doing that final safety stop, it's really obvious. And this big black needle that's currently pointing like straight upwards, like 12 o'clock, that's your actual depth needle. So that's going to point to how deep you are. And this smaller needle, you can adjust with this sort of flat head. You can do it with a fingernail, that's pretty easy. This is your max depth needle. So you might be able to see it's got a little bit of a hook at the very tip, and that just touches onto the main depth needle. So as you go down deeper, the main depth needle is going to push this one up until you reach your maximum depth, and then when you start to shallow back up again, the main needle will come back, but this small needle is going to stay in position, and that's going to tell you what the maximum depth of that dive was. So at the end, if your dive computer, for whatever reason, the battery runs out or it floods, whatever it is, at least you always know what your maximum depth was for that dive. But you do have to reset it between dives. Just use your thumb just to put it down to, well, 1 if you really want to, 3, 6, wherever it is. The pressure gauge, so this is a linear gauge. They're all sort of spaced apart. The final 50 bar is highlighted in a sort of a day glow orange red, and then it goes all the way up to 300 bar, 350 really, but that's just there for safety. Again, that will glow in the dark if you shine a torch on it. Flipping it over, nothing overly fancy on the back side. There are no other sort of attachment points, but just so that you can see the back side of it. That then leads down to a pretty standard rubber hose, decent length on that, and it comes with a thread protector. So this is a universal high pressure thread. It might look like there's no hole in there. The hole is incredibly small. High pressure, you want it to be as small volume as possible. So you might look at it and think that it's there's something wrong. There's a tiny little hole in there, and that's all that it requires. The blue bit of plastic is just to protect the thread and stop that from getting damaged. Okay guys, that's the Cressi Double Gauge, a nice compact little pressure gauge with analog depth and your gas, so you know exactly how deep you are, exactly how much gas you got left. Definitely worth checking out. I really like this. It's nice and compact. It's pretty tough in that boot. You do have attachment points, but you can also attach things onto the hose if you really want to. There's going to be more information on our website, simplyscuba.com. Just click on the link down in the description below. Thanks for watching, and of course, safe diving.